Hi, this is a video to show you how to move around the different pages of the map using this navigation system. So we've already talked about how to move between the different maps using this idea of lenses, but this is about the different pages that are in the map. So you'll always start on this main map, but the navigation system can take you to all these different pages as well. The first one is main map, and you'll see that there's a button in the upper left-hand corner that will always take you back to the main map. So you can either click it there or click it there for the navigation. But this first button here is taking you to the 3D map. So the layout here looks an awful lot like the main map, but this is just for the 3D map. So it'll take a second to load, but it's worth it to take a look at the 3D map. So the reason that you can't overlay the 3D map in the same way as a 2D map is that this is a web scene as opposed to in the main map, which is a web map. But here you can see that this is Edinburgh. So we'll be adding more things to the 3D map, but at the moment, most of the things that we have for the 3D map are actually in the private version of the map as opposed to the public version of the map. So again, we can always return to the main map using that return to main map button, or we could have used the main map button in the navigation system. The next one down is the how to use the map button. So that's where all these videos are going, including this one. So there's already a bunch of videos up here at the moment, including things about like how to use the lenses and how to use the tables and charts and how to use the timelines. And we're currently filming this one, how to use the navigation. So that'll go right there when that is done as well. So this will continue to build out as we expand on how to use the map. So if we go to the next thing down in the navigation, we go to the timeline. So that actually pops out a separate window because this isn't part of the map at all. If this is the climate action map, this is the climate action timeline, which yes, does make the acronym CAT, which made me very happy because I love cats. So here, there's just some information around. This is another resource that we put together for the Net Zero Edinburgh Leadership Board, but the information here is public, so you might as well put it on the public version of the map as well. This is just showing you across these different categories, same color coding as the map, and across these different organizations, from the Scottish Government to the UK Government, their different targets across these different areas out to 2050. So we can keep going, and that's just taking some time to load in. And if you hover over these, that will come up with some additional details, which you can see here. But yeah, this is just some additional resources attached to the map. So if we go back to the map, the next thing is around the data sources. So if we click here, now we've stayed within the page of the map, but this is actually embedded another Zoho spreadsheet. And so what this is showing is all of the data sources that are in the map. So we have more metadata than this, but this is the limited version so that it can all fit on one screen. So you have a category here, the subcategory, its general name, its scale, so that's whether it's like points, lines, polygons, data zones, postcodes, just to give you an idea of like what granularity do we know this to. Here you can see it's cut off, but if you click on a cell, you can see it up in the formula bar here to see that the extent is for Central and Southern Scotland, who's the source, what's the credits, which you can also see in the view details page of any of the individual layers, access. So for the ones that are private here, we can't give anyone the private data, but with the partners that we've worked with both the Net Zero Edinburgh Leadership Board as well as the Edinburgh and South East Regional Energy Master Plan, we have the agreement that if it's private, we're allowed to tell you we have it, we just can't give it to you. But for the ones that are public and they have a public access link, if you hover over the link and you click on it, that will open up the link to where that data source came from in a separate window. So the electricity grid stuff has come from SPEN's Open Data Portal. So that is what has opened here. And we've taken you to the specific data layer of the SPEN's data. I think some might just go to the general Open Data Portal and you're left to having to find the layer that it is, but we'll find out in just a second. Nope, okay, so I have linked the exact distributed, here you can see the primary substations, but you also just have the Open Data Catalog in general. But so there's a link to wherever that data source came from. And you can also filter in this. So that's one of the reasons that we embedded using Zoho spreadsheets. I clearly have a thing that causes it to refresh every 30 seconds, so we might try and change that. But the reason to use Zoho spreadsheets was that it allowed you to filter within the embedded link. So here, if I want to say see only the layers that are related to buildings, I can filter, and that will filter within this embedded Zoho link. But if I also want to go to the actual spreadsheet itself, you can click on that little green Zoho Sheets, and that didn't actually work. So you will have to just use it within the app at the moment. That should have worked, but we're gonna move on. So the other thing is, if you have any additional data sources that aren't already on the map, you can unfilter by just doing it the same way. But if you have any additional data sources, we would like to hear about it, and you can suggest additional data sources here. So this will open up a little survey. We've tried to make it not burdensome of a survey. It literally just asks, what's the data source? This is the only one required. You can just write anything here. It'd be great if you could also provide a link or a description of where to find it. It'd be also nice if you could tell us which of these categories, is it public, private, something else, unknown, and then a bit of an explanation of why it would be helpful to have this on the map. But the only one that's required is just this one top box about saying something about the data source. But that would be helpful if you have anything else that you'd like to have on the map. So as we keep going forward, the next one is around resources. And so in pulling together this map, we've encountered many big hubs of spatial data. And so for anyone who's starting this journey, and so you don't have to go through the same process that I've had to, of having to discover that all of these things exist. This is to point you in the right direction, that there are all these different hubs of spatial data. So Spatial Hub, so that's the one from the improvement service. That's really helpful. So much information here. Things about the ordnance survey. You can see statistics.gov.scot. Use that one a lot as well. And this is just to point you off to other additional sources of geospatial data. And I think it's even Scotland's environmental web. Oh, and clearly I need to fix the link on some of them. But that one actually has a map, and the map has come quite a long way since seeing them start. Other resources, so we have spatial methodologies and models. We talk a lot about LHEs, so there's information about LHEs, but there's also LEAPs and LEARs and more information about that. Other geospatial tools and platforms, because we're certainly not the only ones doing something like this. And then data marketplaces. This is places where you can actually buy additional data sets. So if there's something that you can't find through any of these public hubs, it might be available on one of these data marketplaces, as well as just in general some additional sources of spatial data. So basically these are just things I've found useful as I have gone along this process, is the category of things that's under resources. Then we have project information. So at the moment, the map has been created through these two projects, so the Net Zero Ember Leadership Board and the Edinburgh and South East Scotland Regional Energy Master Plan. So this is just a bit of information about those two projects. If we continue to grow the map through additional projects, there'll be more project information that appears here. And then this last one is about just another link to a survey. In this case, it's this heat network survey. And so this is for expressing your interest in heat networks, because that's one of the main things that we end up using the maps for. And so you just enter a postcode here. Are you interested in heat networks? Have you done the survey before? And then do you consent to be on the public climate action map? Because if you do, this is live and it goes to this layer here, which is about the heat network survey. And so you could fill out the survey and see your response appear, I say live, within like 30 seconds, it'll appear on the map. And so you can see some people have already said yes. I put this up during a speaking event, and we could see, it's like Mentimeter, but slower. So we can see some people saying yes, some people saying, I don't actually think anyone has said no. I think that's a more information orange, not a no red. So we can see some people need more information. The yellow is indicating a maybe. And that's it. That is all the navigation for the system. And you could see that we easily jump back to the main map again using that button at the top. So that's the navigation system. and thank you for watching.